Hello everybody, in today's video I actually joined a match in progress and we're going to be showing off a little bit of gameplay from the Maddox rifle. So I'll be giving you a best class setup for this weapon, the specific class that I'm using within this video, and talk a little bit about how to maximize your effectiveness with the weapon. You can see that we're already started deep into the match, so it's going to end rather quickly. It's going to go to halftime, and then in the second half I begin to destroy the enemy team. There's a lot of different variables that go into it when you're running the Maddox weapon, because it did have that recoil nerf a while back, which makes it a little bit harder to hit your shots at range. But more often than not, anytime I use this weapon, whether it's in a video, whether it's in a live stream, if you want to go ahead and catch a live stream, it's over on Twitch. If it's in a live stream, people ask, well, how the heck don't you have any recoil? And a lot of times, if you know how to manage recoil and you know the specific recoil patterns of the specific weapon, you're going to be able to make it look like you have no recoil at all. So we're going to go ahead and talk about both of those things throughout the video, and I'll give you some best tactics on how you should utilize this weapon to maximize those kills and minimize those deaths. If at any point you are enjoying the video, please remember to hit the like button. Let's see if we can get this video over 500 likes. And if you enjoy any of the content at any point, make sure to double check that you are subscribed to the channel with notifications on so you'll be able to find your way back. So the overall best class setup for the Maddox is going to be an Elo sight, quick draw 1, quick draw 2 with stock. You can pretty much run whatever gear you want to use, but in the gameplay I'm using ComSec device, and then the perks I'm running are flak jacket, dexterity, as well as dead silence. And the main reason I like to run that dexterity is to take advantage of the slide canceling mechanic within the game, which is a pretty broken mechanic which will break your opponent's aim assist. It seemed like in yesterday's video a lot of people had questions about the mechanic. Even though I've done a video on it, I think maybe I could do a better tutorial on it. If you'd like more information on how to slide cancel, all you got to do is just leave a comment asking me so I can kind of get an idea of how many people think that would be helpful. So not a bad start at the halftime. Obviously, like I said, I did join in late and we are 9-0 so far. We're going to continue this streak going and we're going to get a ton of kills in the second half. So the main thing that makes the Maddox so good is because it's one of the only weapons that behaves like an SMG and a rifle at the exact same time. And what I mean by that is you're able to take those close range engagements because of the rate of fire, and then if you fire at someone at a distance, the time to kill is pretty fast, like most of the rifles in the game, as long as you're able to hit your shots. Ever since they modified the recoil pattern a little bit for the burst as it continues, it made it a lot more challenging for people to use, and because of that, for the most part, I don't really run into this weapon all that often. So pretty much how you're going to want to use this weapon is when you're at very close range, just leave it full auto. Don't worry about the burst firing mechanic. But typically as you get into the medium range and the further ranges, you're going to want to take advantage of the burst firing technique, which basically abuses the predictive recoil mechanic. So what that means is typically if you're firing at someone at range, instead of just pulling the trigger for the entire magazine, which I've seen a lot of people do, what you're going to do is pull the trigger for about 10 to 15, even 20 rounds, depending on where you kind of start to lose control, and then you're going to release it for a millisecond and then pull the trigger again, and repeating this cycle over and over until you run out of ammo, which for the most part you should have killed the enemy by then, so you need to stop firing anyways. But if you are getting a little inaccurate, that little quick recoil control management there will allow you to snap back onto the target. And that's really as simple as it gets in making the weapon feel like it has almost no recoil. It's a combination of that trigger discipline, which I just talked about, as well as pulling down on that right analog to counter some of the recoil that is naturally going to go up. So now I talked about what I said I was going to talk about, let's get into a gameplay breakdown to finish out the rest of the gameplay, which is not very long. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you're looking to find your way back because you found some of the tips helpful, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on. With this gameplay breakdown, this is something I typically do in the videos to kind of finish them out so I can kind of walk through my thought process, and maybe you pick up on a few different things on how I read the minimap, how I position myself based on how the enemies are playing, what weapon I'm using, and where my teammates are moving, so I can go ahead and give you better ideas on how you can navigate around the map. I've had several of my subscribers get their first ever nuclear after watching my videos, and you can kind of learn some different things here and there and kind of add them to the tools you already have. So right here I'm just peeking out. You can see I don't miss really any shots there. Go ahead and take this guy out as he's coming out of spawn, and now I know the spawn's really on both sides of me, and all I'm trying to do is kind of pick them up out of spawn. You can see how I release the trigger really quickly. Another guy's coming through the door, I take him out, and I'm pushing towards the middle of the map. I know someone's there. I take that guy out on a little bit of ruthless, and then I kind of get pinched from the side. I'm still going to get a ton more kills throughout the gameplay, and I've kind of watched that back a few different times to see what I did wrong, because that was my only death, and I was kind of thinking, what the heck did I do? Did I make a mistake? Is there something I could have done differently? And what I looked at is that it just kind of had a bad spawn. Since the teammate was kind of blocking some of the other spawns, they end up spawning on the side of B, which kind of made it an unfortunate spawn. I didn't predict the guy was, and as I jumped through the thing, I kind of got caught up while I was healing, and I kind of just ended up in a bad spot. So right here you can see I'm backing up. You can see how I slide out of the situation. With that dexterity, you're able to slide much further, and then I'm coming back in to go ahead and peek the spawn. Nuketown is one of the easier, like, brainless type maps where you don't really have to think much other than rotating from they gotta be here, they gotta be there. They gotta be here, they gotta be there. And obviously I'm only playing with one other person, but if you're playing in a full party, this is rather easy to do on pretty much any map. You can regulate where the spawns are, and you can pretty much force the enemies to spawn in a specific location. Most people refer to that as spawn trapping or spawn camping or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it is a valid tactic. It's unfortunate that it's so easy to do, especially on the smaller maps like Nuketown. You don't require as many people to do it. And if you know what you're doing, you can make it look really easy, and you can hit a lot of people. Even if they're better than you, have a good shot, as long as you know where to pre-aim, line up your shots, and use cover to your advantage, you're going to win most of those gunfights. The other nice thing that I don't really touch on is, even though this weapon doesn't have extended mags, its default magazine capacity is 40, which surprisingly is a big deal. I don't know how many situations I've ever been in with the Vapor that only has 35, the ICR that only has 35, or some of the other weapons that only have 35. For whatever reason, they decided to give this gun an extra 5 bullets so you can get that extra little kill. There's a lot of times where I leave someone one shot, I kind of run out of ammo, especially if I'm getting 2 or 3 kills, or even 4 kills at range, or whatever the case is. This extra 5 bullets is very significant in my opinion. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm pretty much doing the technique that I talked about. If they're a little bit further at range, I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger, release after about 10 to 15 rounds, and then go ahead and pull the trigger again. I'm kind of pre-aiming on the specific areas where I think enemies are going to be, but it looks like they're on the completely other side of the map. You can see them popping up all over the UAV. So even though I joined the match late, I still win 69-1 with over 8,600 damage, so pretty significant for a domination match. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. I definitely want to thank you guys for supporting the content, even though there hasn't really been any new content to Black Ops 4, and there won't be for another 2 or 3 weeks. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.